Thank you. Please be seated. This evening we have a program which is the launch of the Enhancing Legislature Oversight Program of the South African Legislature Sector and the European Union. It's appropriate that this happens this evening during the time of the Speakers Forum meeting, which was happening today and continues tomorrow. So it's appropriate that it happens at this time. I'd like to extend a warm welcome to everybody here this evening, and clearly from the protocol side, the Speaker of the National Assembly, the Honourable Bimbete, Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, Honourable T.R. Medise, the Speakers of the Provincial Legislatures who are here this evening, the Deputy Speakers of the Provincial Legislatures, the House Chairpersons of the National Assembly and the NCOP in Parliament, and chairs of chairs from the Provincial Legislatures, the Secretaries and the Deputy Secretaries to Parliament and the Provincial Legislatures. From the European Union, the EU Commissioner for International Cooperation and Development, Mr. Mimicha. The EU Ambassador to South Africa, His Excellency Mr. Komaro. The EU delegation from the European Commission, all of you, and the ambassadors of EU member states, or their representatives, officials from the EU delegation to South Africa, and then also civil society guests, recipients of EU funding linked to the oversight program of the legislative sector. Please, a very warm welcome to you this evening, and we hope that as we go through this evening and as we, as it were, launch and celebrate this program of cooperation and collaboration, that you'll be able to have a good time. Without any further ado, I will now ask our first speaker to come forward, and that will be Mr. Mimicha, as the European Union South Africa Partnership in the Legislative Sector as the EU Commissioner for International Cooperation and Development.
Very good evening, Honourable Madam Speaker, Honourable Speakers of the Provincial Legislatures, Excellencies, Ambassadors, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues and friends. I'm honoured to be able to address you here tonight as we enter a new phase of the European Union's commitment to support democracy in South Africa. Relations between Europe and South Africa in the field of parliamentary collaboration dates back to 1993, when the European Parliament sent a delegation for the observation of the first democratic elections in South Africa. But well before 1993, the European Parliament had supported the anti-apartheid movement, and together with the European Commission, financed humanitarian aid via civil society organizations in South Africa. In 1989, when Nelson Mandela was still imprisoned, the European Parliament honored him with its prestigious Sakharov Peace Prize. And just a few months after his release from prison, Mr. Mandela addressed the European Parliament in June 1990, an event many European citizens still remember today. Since 1994, the European Union and South Africa saw rapidly expanded cooperation, culminating in 2007 with the establishment of a strategic partnership and a joint action plan. A range of dialogues between the European Union and South Africa allow us to share experiences in areas of common interest or where we face common challenges. Our partnership is broad and comprehensive and covers political, trade, and development interests. Tonight, we are here to launch the fourth European Union support program to the South African legislative sector. Since 1996, more than 50 million euros have been mobilized in this area. It provided support to establish the new democratic legislatures at national and provincial level with a strong focus on institutional development. I'm told some of the visible and lasting results of this program support are the sector oversight and the sector public participation models, amongst many other achievements. This significant outcome enables the legislatures at national and provincial level to execute with vigor their oversight responsibilities and to provide opportunities for civil society to participate in the activities of legislatures, as intended by the South African Constitution. Year after year, we also saw an increase of interparliamentarian contacts, with a custom gradually developing of holding 2 interparliamentary meetings per year. This frequency of meetings reflects the importance both partners attached to political dialogue in a post-apartheid era, but also the fact that European Union and South Africa relations are much wider in scope than a traditional development strategy. As you well know, the 25th European Parliament South Africa Interparliamentary Meeting will take place in 2 weeks' time in Strasbourg. Discussions will continue on issues of mutual interest, including the European Union-South African Strategic Partnership and the participation of South Africa in the new EU External Investment Plan. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we are here to celebrate our partnership and jointly launch the Enhancing Legislature Oversight Program, which actually consists of 2 complementary programs worth 12 million euros, namely to the national and provincial legislatures, 10 million euros, and to civil society to engage with legislatures of 2 million euros. A call for proposals for civil society organizations was launched in 2017. 4 grants were awarded to 15 organizations, with many more community-based organizations involved and benefiting. These organizations will work in 8 provinces and engage at national and provincial level to make use of the opportunities which your institutions offer for public participation and improving oversight. Through the 2-pronged approach, the European Union is able to support both sides of the continuum and contribute to strengthening democracy, oversight, and accountability. I wish you success with the implementation of the Enhancing Legislature Oversight Program, and thank you for your continued partnership. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Nemiche. We'll now have a musical interlude. We have with us a band on the stage, and they're the Chwani School of Music, and they will be producing an item now, the African Dream Song, appropriately so, by Kayleen Rosenberg.
1, 2.
Alone in the evening, I look outside my window at the shadows in the night. I hear the sound of distance crying, the darkness multiplying, and weary hearts deny. All I feel is my heartbeat, beating like a drum. your heartbeat. Alone, my dream is just a dream, another false illusion, like the shadows in the night. All I want is for our heartbeats to be just one, to silence the confusion and the pain in the illusions will disappear again, and we will never run. 'Cause in my African dream, there's a new tomorrow. My African dream, it is a dream that we can follow. 'Cause in my African dream, there's a new tomorrow. My African dream is a dream that we can follow. Now when the night begins to fall, I listen for your call, I listen for your heartbeats. And alone, my dream is just a dream, another false illusion, like the shadows in the night. All I want is for heartbeats to be just one, to silence the confusion and the pain in the illusions will disappear again, and we will never run. 'Cause in my African dream, there's a new tomorrow. My African dream, it is a dream that we can follow. 'Cause in my African dream, there is a new tomorrow. My African dream, it is a dream that we can follow.
We'd like to thank the European Commissioner for his input from the north, and now we'd like to welcome on stage the Honourable Mbete, the Speaker of the National Assembly, Republic of South Africa Parliament, to share in the partnership.
I think all the protocols have been clearly spelled out, and I shall commit myself to them without having to go through them again. So all protocols observed. Good evening. But in particular, I'd like to welcome the commissioner who has just arrived in this country 2 hours ago, and say we appreciate the fact that he arrived and came straight to us. I welcome again the EU ambassador and the whole delegation of the EU countries that are represented in this country. who are our friends, with whom we have partnered in this relationship with the legislative sector of South Africa from the earliest days of this democratic dispensation. I'd like to acknowledge and recognize all the colleagues, speakers, deputy speakers from provinces, all the guests who are here from the NGO sector, the secretaries of the South African legislative sector, Honorable